Hey, what's up, everybody? Now, this is not so much putting negativity on Jim Cornette and his opinion of AEW or anything like that. But I was listening to you know, his review of Double or Nothing, and he did have a lot of negative stuff to say about it, about the Battle Royal, for example. Just making fun of the people in the Battle Royal, and he did make some good points. I mean, it's kind of a jobber Battle Royal. Talk about there's a guy with no legs, there's a lucha dinosaur guy. There's a guy who's putting oil over his body, things like that. Basically bashing their battle royal. And there's one guy who works for AEW, whatever. Forgot his name. It's kind of like the Miz type of guy. You know, um, I forget, but like they said, basically saying that the Double or Nothing Battle Royal didn't have any stars in it. Like there was just no one in there because this is a um a battle royal that's going to determine the number one contender for the AEW championship. Like I kind of agree. It should have been more. I mean, as far as star power goes, you got to give it time. Like you got to give it time and let characters develop. There's not many stars right now. Now, there was some, silly parts. I agree. Some more silly parts. Where, a guy, forgot his name. Not MJF, not him, but another guy who was just kicking Tommy Dreamer in the leg. And then they just throws him out of the ring. Forgot his name though. But basically, he was just saying that that MJF was the only star probably in the Battle Royal or on the show. And he did give some good opinions. He liked Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Reynolds. He liked that match. Said that was a real wrestling match. One of the better matches of Cody Rhodes. I mean, I enjoyed that match. It was a bloodbath. Everything, everything like that. But Jim Cornette, he's always pretty negative about things. He he has his own opinions, I guess. He did kind of like SoCal Uncensored SCU. He enjoyed that. But when he was also he was bashing Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix versus the Young Bucks, the Super Kick club, whatever you want to call them, saying these guys don't look tough and they're out luching the luchadors type of thing, Um, but I thought the show was actually really good. I mean, I had no issues with Double or Nothing. It was a show I actually enjoyed. I'm not going to say right away it's better than the WWE. They've only had one show. You got to kind of give it more time, I guess, But, who knows? Every show has its flaws. But you got to ask yourself, the WWE, they have good and bad off and on. I mean, I kind of bash the WWE and say a lot of negative things about it. A lot. Sure. I mean, I think a lot of people are just tired of the WWE and tired of the stuff they're doing. Um, that's why they wanted to try a different wrestling company. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at the flaws, Wrestling Observers look at the flaws of everything, especially AEW, and they're going to say, oh, well, this show kind of sucks because there's these few flaws. Now, a lot of people complain also about Kenny Omega losing to Chris Jericho. I was saying Kenny Omega doesn't need to be like John Cena. He doesn't need to win all the time. Do you want that John Cena character who's just going to beat everybody? You don't want someone like that because then they're going to start booing him, and their most over character is going to not get his heat, and people are going to get tired of watching it. Think about well, John Cena as an example. You guys got tired of John Cena. People are tired of Roman Reigns, so they boo him even if he is a face. Um, you know, but don't just go ahead and agree with Jim Cornette. Yeah, he's gonna say something negative about most things he talks about. Jim Cornette bashes WrestleMania. You know, Jim Cornette bashed TNA. He even tried to work for him. Mean shoot. Um, but yeah, the way I see it, I thought the show was good. They're talking about Chris Jericho being the worst shape of his life. Yeah, Jericho doesn't look like he's in the best shape ever, but he's also 49 years old, 48 years old. Chris Jericho is getting old. So, as far as him being in shape, look at his age. For being 48 and being in good shape, that's kind of hard to do, honestly. Um, but yeah, if you can watch Jim Cornette's opinions of AEW, you can agree. If you want to agree, that's up to you. I thought it was a pretty good show. I watched all the way through it. I can't watch Raw that much. I can't watch all of SmackDown. I can watch some WWE pay-per-views. I can watch NXT. But as bad as the WWE is, I can kind of excuse some of the flaws with Double or Nothing. And yeah, you're going to have your people with bad opinions of his show. Everybody has their bad opinions. And I agree with some of the stuff he said. I thought some of the spots were kind of silly. I did kind of feel like, I don't mean the Young Bucks are actually really over in some areas. Jim Cornette says that the Young Bucks aren't really as. The only way they're going to get over is if they get mad and stop being smartasses and actually do more stuff, whatever. Then, maybe they'll get more over on a mainstream. I think the Young Bucks will maybe eventually, they'll get over. They'll get more and more over. They're selling merchandise. They're doing things, etc. They're over in their own way. But Jim Cornette says they can't really beat up anybody. I mean, shoot. But also, I mean, think about Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins. They don't look like they can beat up anybody. They had that problem with John Morrison. They had that problem with Christian. They didn't look like they could beat up anybody. So they didn't want to really push them. But Seth Rollins and Kofi, look at them. They don't look like they're big and buff like Hulk Hogan or tough guys like Stone Cold or The Rock or Triple H or Brock Lesnar. These guys don't look like champions. Shoot. I mean, if it's for the tag titles, it's more athleticism, that kind of thing. Chris Jericho, to some people, is an old man. He can't beat nobody up. Whatever. But I think that if Jim Cornette were to continue to bash this company the way it does, because if you look at the comments, a lot of people agree with what Jim Cornette says. And sure, I mean, he makes a lot of logical points about it. And I kind of agree. But at the same time, I'm not gonna give up on AEW and say it sucked. I mean, I'm gonna give it time because the WWE has its flaws too. Remember that the WWE can be a pretty boring show. They can make it better. They can make it kid friendly and still make it good. If they push the right people. I've talked about the WWE making mistakes a lot. I do that as a wrestling observer. I see flaws with the WWE, but sometimes the WWE has its good moments. Then it just has its bad moments. I mean, like when Bayley won the women's title at Money in the Bank, that was a pretty good moment. I burped. I'm saying this. Sometimes just give AEW some time to establish itself, make these characters, make them a somebody. Give these characters time. I mean, Booker T even said during the show there was not enough talking and not enough promos, but it was the first show. It told some stories. I mean, like Hangman Page. He had John Moxley come out at the end of the show and attack Jericho. So and Kenny Omega. So they want to make John Moxley the star of AEW, and we'll see where it goes from there. I always say you don't want to push people too fast. You want to give it time. But I say with AEW, don't make it so much like the WWE. And there's a lot of opinions about Cody Rhodes destroying that throne at AEW, Double or Nothing. I mean, if you think about it, The WWE took shots at AEW at the Hall of Fame ceremony. Shoot. But here's the thing. With AEW and the Cody Rhodes smash and that throne, I guess that you don't want to talk about the other person's company. Triple H said in an interview he worries about his stuff. Triple H worries about NXT and only NXT. He said in an interview that Billy Gunn was there, so they're gonna mention it because then people are gonna question why didn't they mention AEW or whatever. Or Triple H made a good point, and more people want Triple H to run that company. Now I don't want to change the subject too much, but I thought Double or Nothing was a good show. It had its flaws, and I keep saying that, but that's true. But let's all give AEW some time. Jim Cornette's going to be right about what he says. You're going to agree with him because, he's Jim Cornette. I'm saying just give it time and don't let these bad opinions throw you off from AEW. Let's give AEW a chance. That's all I want to say about that.